What it do? How y'all feeling? Feeling good? Man, listen, I expect the same energy y'all gave them. You know what I'm saying? I need some energy. I need y'all to clap it up. So, let's get on and introduce the panelists. So we have Miss Celeste Bill. She is the granddaughter of A.D. and Naomi King. She is a graduate of Liberty School of Law and shared the same passion as her grandfather for working and talking to young people. Please give it up for Miss Celeste Bill. Martha Potter Hall. She started to work for Miss King on July 19th, 1965, and at the same time, her husband Van was also the assistant director of public relations for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and ran their print shop. She worked at their home for about a year and attempted to finish her college education. When Dr. King was killed, Mrs. King asked Martha to come back and work for her in the early plans of creating the King Center, which we are in right now. So please give it up for Mrs. Hall. All right, and our last panelist is Miss Rosalind McGinnis. She is a long-term advocate for education and empowerment of youth. Rosalind served as the UNCF Area Development Director with responsibilities for South Carolina and Tennessee, as well as Macon and Savannah, Georgia. And in this role, she is responsible for raising over $1.5 million each year to support students and get them through college. Let's give it up. So Ms. Celeste, I want to kick it off with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your grandparents? How did they shape you as an individual?
Okay, well, that is a wonderful question. I was actually born in 1978. So I was born at a time that was 10 years after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. And my family taught us the importance of faith in God, the importance of learning to forgive people and learning to communicate. So it was lessons like that I remember growing up that sort of prepared me for the work that I do today. Today, I'm one of the trainers for the King Center. I work with young people just like yourselves with the Beloved Leadership Academy. We teach nonviolence to your generation so that you can pick up the torch and run.
Mrs. Hall, wanna get to you. So you were Mrs. King's, you were her right-hand lady, you were right there by her side. I want you to share with everybody some experiences that you guys shared, some happy moments, some good laughs, stuff like that.
I came in one morning, and we come in the front door, came down the hall, about to go in the door, and I heard a commotion from the left, and I looked, and there was Dr. King standing in his underwear with a pillow in his hands. I looked at him, he looked at me. He said, "Good morning, Martha." And I said, "Good morning, Dr. King." And then he pulled back and threw the pillow at Miss King, who was in the bed, and the two of them cracked up laughing. So it was just a playful. So the next time you have a bull fight with your brothers or sisters, imagine one of you is Dr. King and one is Miss King, and laugh about it.
That's a great story. I like that a lot. And then also keep in mind, don't forget, if you guys have questions, you can go to the mic, and then we can proceed with your question. I'll just call on you, and you can proceed with your question to one of the panelists. So I want to get to you, Ms. McGinnis. So you were here at the King Center, working here at the King Center. Can you talk about what that experience was like, working here at the King Center? Because you were actually an assistant too, right?
So working here is an amazing experience because you're literally training young people like yourselves. You're also making an impact on the world. And so for me, it was a phenomenal opportunity. When I first came, as I shared, I had the opportunity to work alongside Mrs. King. And the women in the movement worked late at night, worked tirelessly all the time. And I was working, I sent it to her, and she called me, she said, "Baby, you don't see those typos?" And I wanted to say, "Miss King, I can't see that screen, I'm tired." But she was never tired, never stopped working. The work was always important. And I think that was one of the lessons I learned from her, that it was not just, it's hard work, meaning your heart, not hard work, because we do it for a reason. And that was one of the things that I learned of working at the King Center and working with Mrs. King. And I have one more little, well, I'll save it.
All right, so you talked about a little bit about the King holiday, right? That is a, like you said, that's a big, huge event, goes on here at the King Center, week-long thing of events. What, like, there's so much planning that goes into that, right? Like, what's the planning process like? Because everything, I mean, you know, it gotta be right.
Oh, absolutely. The planning process has already started for January 2024. And oh, they do. The first step, they come up with the theme for this year. And then, well, the year that's coming up. But then there are a series of activities that take place. And it was the same way when Mrs. King was alive. I know Celeste can speak to it, all the different activities. King Week. They didn't do this work by themselves. And I think that's a piece that you have to remember. No one person can do it all. And that was one of the other things that Mrs. King shared, that we all work together. And I think that's a piece that may sometimes be forgotten.
Yeah, so that's really like important that you shared that, because so basically I know y'all don't go around like advertising it, but like there was a point in your life where you didn't let people know that you were a part of the family, right?
So I was born at a time where my parents wanted to protect me and didn't want our family exposed like that. My mom was a state representative. She was one of the legislators that made the laws. And so, like, we grew up feeling like we were a target in a world that didn't want a message of love to come out. So for years, I lived, you know, sort of in silence. But it's like my love now is stronger than my fear. We can't be a family that lives in fear. We can't be a family that allows people to be hurt and be broken without at least extending, you know, some love, some light, some life, and some power, because that is what makes the world better.